So, we know that there is a contract, and the upcoming album seems to indicate that there will be a breach of that contract. The ongoing mainstream theory, if you will, is that Clancy and the Torchbearer made a deal, and that Clancy is now either already breaking or is about to break that contract. This is evidenced by the letters between these two figures, in which the Torchbearer appears to plead with Clancy to remember who he is, where he came from, and who the bishops are, out of fear that Clancy himself might become a bishop after he defeats the enemy. And Clancy's response appears to have confirmed this fear, writing that he wants to become a symbol of absolute power for the citizens of Dima. And further lyrics from the contract appear to reinforce this idea, with lines like this one: "Promises and contracts I used to keep." So we stand here, at the start of a new era, wondering if we might be about to see a betrayal by Clancy, and hoping that he will be saved from this corruption. And as we do so, a terrible thought crosses my mind. What if we have been completely blind this entire time? I mentioned a moment ago that the lyrics from the contract appear to reinforce the idea that the breach of contract will be on Clancy's part, that he is the one in the wrong here. But it is important to remember that these lyrics only appear to reinforce that idea. An idea that we already had. An idea which was first put in our minds by the Torchbearer. It was the Torchbearer who wrote that first letter to Clancy, and the Torchbearer who gave us those lines which echoed throughout the Clancy tour. If we defeat them, we will become them. And if we become them, we must do better. But what if the Torchbearer is actually evil, actually aligned with the bishops of Dima, and has been guiding Clancy down the wrong path? Guiding, leading, and manipulating him down the wrong path this entire time. If true, it could be a devastating twist to the story, and an utter betrayal of Clancy by the one figure who is supposed to be his constant guiding light. So, before you ignore and reject this idea because it is so seemingly impossible and repellent, allow me to first submit my case. Then, having fully considered it, you may take issue with it. To begin, let us return to the most recent music video, because it was that video which sparked this idea. There has been plenty of analysis and discussion of the contract in recent days, so I won't dwell on it too long, but it will be a useful jumping off point. Firstly, a few questions were raised by this video which are worth considering, and which this video hopefully will answer. Number 1, who is the Torchbearer that we see here? He is not dressed the same way he was last time we saw him, and he once again wears the red eyeshadow that he had during Blurryface. Number 2, what is the contract in question? What does it entail? It seems pretty clear now that it was between the Torchbearer and Clancy, but the details of it are still pretty unclear. Number 3, why does Clancy turn away from the Torchbearer and refuse to take the jacket? This is not only something which we see depicted here, but which we also saw at the end of the Clancy tour. To begin, let us consider the Torchbearer that we see here and revisit the distinction that was made during the video for navigating. It was in this video that we learned there was an important distinction between the Torchbearer who traveled alongside Clancy for most of the story and the Torchbearer who stayed in the Bandito camp. For the sake of clarity, it makes sense to create a distinction between these two versions of the Torchbearer. So, from now on, I will refer to the projected Torchbearer as the outside Torchbearer, and the real Torchbearer as the Bandito Torchbearer. And so, the implication from navigating is that the Bandito Torchbearer was using a special power to project himself alongside Clancy even as he stayed in the wilderness of Trench in the Bandito camp. And it was this projection which showed up alongside him as the outside Torchbearer. However, as I explained in a video doing a deeper dive on navigating and this power, that explanation doesn't actually make all that much sense. If the Torchbearer really was using a power to exist in two places simultaneously, then when we get those flashbacks to what was really happening, we would expect to still see the Torchbearer alongside Clancy, just the outside version of him. However, that was not the case. Those flashbacks showed that Clancy was alone. So really what was happening is that Clancy was just seeing a projected version of the Torchbearer created by his own mind, either as a coping mechanism to deal with the isolation of Scaled and Icy, or put there by some external force. Again, the leading explanation so far is that this projection was placed there by the Bandito Torchbearer, in order to help and guide Clancy even from afar. But let us go back further for a moment, to the time when, in terms of lore videos, we first saw the Torchbearer. It was in the music video for Heavy Dirty Soul, in which Nico drives Clancy out of the city of Dima. As they go along the wintry road, they find him sitting in the middle, drumming. Then, Nico, an evil figure who seeks the destruction of all men, and who likely can't even see the drummer very well, still takes care to swerve around him, leaving him unscathed. Well, him, not his drum set. Later, in the follow-up to Heavy Dirty Soul Jumpsuit, Nico and the Bandito Torchbearer once again cross paths, as the Torchbearer leads a group of Banditos out to find Clancy, hoping to help him escape Dima. Unfortunately, Nico still finds the escapee and smears him. But as he begins to lead him back to the city, he looks up at the Bandito Torchbearer, watching him from the cliffs above, and Nico begins to realize that this may be the key to finally breaking Clancy and preventing any attempts at future escapes. The last time we see the Bandito Torchbearer is in Levitate, when Clancy is once again recaptured and brought back to Dima. The last time, that is, until navigating. Every appearance of Josh or the Torchbearer in between Levitate and navigating is an appearance of the outside Torchbearer, and that is very important. Again, the leading idea so far has been that the Bandito Torchbearer placed this projection of the outside Torchbearer into Clancy's mind in order to help him. However, as I will soon demonstrate, this outside Torchbearer was not all that helpful to Clancy. So instead, I would like to submit the idea that this outside Torchbearer was not placed there by the Bandito Torchbearer at all, but rather put into Clancy's mind by Nico. Remember, theories that this might be the case first began to circulate during the Scaled and Icy era, because there clearly was something off about that version of the Torchbearer. And remember also what I said a moment ago about the peering glance that Nico gave to the Bandito Torchbearer when he realizes that this is the key to destroying Clancy. As soon as he has Clancy back inside the walls of Dima, he does not waste any time starting to work on Clancy's mind. So he places a fake version of Josh, or the Torchbearer, next to Clancy during his propaganda tour, in order to keep an eye on him and also to subtly manipulate him. Appearing, sounding, and drumming just like the guiding force that Clancy had come to know in the Bandito camp, as he learnt the ways of the Banditos. After the live stream broadcast, we know that the bishops sent them out to perform at sea in the submarine, as we see depicted in Saturday. But then Keons betrays the other bishops, seizes Trash the Dragon, and uses that to destroy the submarine, allowing Clancy to escape, and also at the same time destroying Nico's version of the Torchbearer. However, as we learn in the lyrics for Paladin Strait, Clancy cannot be alone, so his broken and troubled mind creates its own projection of the Torchbearer, now heavily influenced by Nico's manipulation, and so the outside Torchbearer is born at the start of the outside. And this is why Josh appeared on the wrong side of Clancy during the Scaled and Icy era, and also why he is so blurred on the cover art for Clancy, because he simply is Blurryface's version of the Torchbearer. Now you may say, well actually this version that we see here in the outside must be once again projected by the Bandito Torchbearer, because he is actually trying to help Clancy, furthering his escape and leading him to the power of seizing. However, I think that giving Clancy the power of seizing was the first step on a dark road to becoming a bishop. Using the evil power of the enemy against them would not only start to corrupt Clancy, but also caused the Banditos to distrust him and start to whisper that he was becoming a bishop himself. They see that he has seized a corpse and overcompensate, something which previously only the bishops of Dima have done, and something which likely would have horrified them. The outside Torchbearer also clothes Clancy in the color of red, the color of Blurryface, not yellow, the color of the Banditos, and convinces him that even though he has finally escaped Dima and is thought to be dead by Nico, he should still return to the city. So you can see here a clear distinction. The real Torchbearer always guided Clancy out of Dima and away. This fake Torchbearer is trying to lead him back into Dima. Hearing the reports that Clancy seized a vessel for his show and overcompensate, the Bandito Torchbearer becomes concerned and sends 3 Banditos out to find him. These find Clancy alone on the shores of Trench and bring him back to the Bandito camp. Upon their arrival, the outside and the Bandito Torchbearers come face to face, and the outside, the fake one, vanishes. So, Clancy has once again been reunited with the real Torchbearer, But the damage has been done, and he is dead set on returning to Dima to overthrow the bishops. He is also unwilling to listen to the warnings which the real Torchbearer is giving him against becoming a bishop of Dima. Now, with all this being the case, we arrive at the contract. Having just attacked the city alongside the real Torchbearer, Clancy is once again seized by Nico and cast into the void. Here, he once more finds the outside Torchbearer in the realm of the glorious gone, and it is here in this context that he finally realizes the distinction between the real and the fake torchbearers. So, at the end, when Clancy is ready to leave the void, go out there and face the necromancer once more, he turns away and refuses the jacket offered him by the outside torchbearer, the fake one, returning to face Nico with true determination, having seen through his deception. The true torchbearer, then, is not evil, but good. And Clancy is finally beginning to realize the difference. With that being said, thank you first of all to a fellow 21 Pilots enthusiast who sparked this idea in my mind, but is choosing to remain nameless out of fear of retribution from the evil torchbearer. And thank you for watching. Be sure to let me know what you think of this theory in the comments, and as always, don't forget to subscribe for more music commentary and theories.